Siberia, 10,000 years ago. Bone-cutting winds swept across the land. The steppe stretched endlessly in every direction, white, frozen, silent. A massive creature stood alone in the open. Thick, woolly fur covered its entire body. Curved tusks extended more than 10 feet from its face. It was the last woolly mammoth in this region. It did not know that. It only knew one thing. The grass was gone. The vast green meadows that once fed entire herds, tens of thousands of animals across millions of years, now replaced by marshland and moss, things its stomach could not process. This animal was not killed by a hunter's spear. It starved to death on the very land that had been paradise for its ancestors. For more than 150 years, scientists have argued over a single question. Why did the woolly mammoth go extinct? The most popular answer has always been the same. Humans. We hunted them into oblivion. That story is clean, it is simple, and it turns out it is largely wrong. In 2021, a research team from the University of Copenhagen published a landmark study in the journal Nature. They analyzed over 800,000 sediment samples collected from across the Arctic. What they found did not just challenge the old theory, it dismantled it entirely. But before I show you what they discovered, I want to ask you something. Right now, before you watch another second of this video, think about your answer. What do you believe actually wiped the woolly mammoth off the face of the earth? Option A, humans hunted them beyond recovery. Option B, climate change destroyed their food supply. Option C, both forces worked together to seal their fate. Drop your answer in the comments right now. Just the letter A, B, or C. By the end of this video, I will reveal what the science actually says. And I promise you this, no matter which option you chose, the real answer will surprise you in ways you did not expect. If you are the kind of person who wants science explained the way it actually happened, not the way textbooks simplified it, subscribe to this channel right now. We do not do surface level here. Every video goes deeper than the headline. Hit subscribe and let's get into it. Let us put this mystery into perspective. The woolly mammoth was not some fragile creature. It was one of the most successful large mammals in Earth's history. These animals walked this planet for more than 5 million years. 5 million years of survival. Through ice ages, through volcanic winters, through everything. They roamed across 4 continents: North America, Europe, Asia, and the Arctic islands of the far north. At their peak, millions of them existed simultaneously. Then, in geological terms, almost overnight, they vanished. The last mainland populations disappeared around 10,700 years ago. But here is what most people do not know. A small, isolated population survived on Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean. They held on until just 3,700 years ago. That means woolly mammoths were still alive when the Egyptians were building the pyramids. And for more than 150 years, the greatest minds in paleontology could not agree on why they died. 3 major theories dominated the debate for generations. Each one seemed convincing at first. Each one collapsed under the weight of new evidence. Theory 1. The overkill hypothesis. In 1966, ecologist Paul Martin proposed a bold idea. Ancient human hunters were so efficient, so relentless, that they simply killed every mammoth they encountered. Wave after wave of hunters, pushing species after species into extinction. It was a compelling narrative. Humans as the destroyers. Familiar, easy to believe. But the evidence refused to cooperate. On Wrangel Island, there were no humans for thousands of years after the mainland mammoths disappeared. Yet the Wrangel population eventually went extinct too. If hunting was the only cause, Wrangel should have been a permanent sanctuary. It was not. Theory 2. Disease. Some researchers proposed that ancient pathogens swept through mammoth populations, a prehistoric pandemic wiping out entire herds. But after decades of analyzing thousands of fossilized bones, scientists found zero evidence of a specific catastrophic pathogen, no consistent biological signature of mass disease. The theory quietly faded. Theory 3. A sudden catastrophic event. Asteroid impact, supervolcano, instant environmental collapse. This theory also failed at a basic level. Mammoth extinction did not happen all at once. It happened region by region, century by century, over thousands of years across different continents. A sudden catastrophe cannot explain that pattern. None of these theories survived contact with the full data set. Something deeper was going on. Then, everything changed. Not because someone found a new fossil, not because someone dug up a better spear point. It changed because scientists developed a way to read the past that no one had ever used before at this scale. Environmental DNA, known in the scientific community as eDNA, a research team led by Dr. Eske Willerslev at the University of Copenhagen combined this technology with data from institutions including the University of Cambridge and published their findings in Nature in 2021. The question was no longer just what killed the mammoth. The question became, what happened to the world the mammoth needed to survive? Here is how environmental DNA works. Every living organism sheds biological material constantly. Skin cells, hair, waste, pollen, root tissue, all of it sinks into the ground over time. All of it gets preserved in layers of sediment and permafrost. Scientists can now extract that genetic material directly from soil samples without needing a single bone or fossil. They can essentially read the biological history of an entire ecosystem layer by layer, century by century. Dr. Willerslev's team analyzed over 800,000 sediment samples collected from dozens of Arctic and Siberian sites. What they found was not a story about mammoths dying. It was a story about a world dying first. The mammoth steppe was one of the most productive ecosystems ever to exist on Earth. A vast grassland stretching from Western Europe to Eastern Siberia. Dense with high-protein grasses, flowering herbs, and nutrient-rich sedges. It could support an extraordinary density of large mammals. But the eDNA record showed something devastating. Starting around 13,000 years ago, the mammoth steppe began to collapse. Species like Poaceae grasses and protein-rich flowering plants began disappearing from the sediment record. Replacing them, moss, waterlogged shrubs, and wetland vegetation. Food that a woolly mammoth's digestive system was simply not built to process efficiently. The foundation of the mammoth's entire world was being pulled out from underneath it. Slowly, relentlessly, completely. The eDNA findings needed independent confirmation. Science does not rest on a single source, and it found that confirmation in an entirely different archive. Pollen. When plants reproduce, they release pollen into the air. That pollen settles into lakes and bogs. It sinks to the bottom and gets preserved in sediment layers with extraordinary precision. Scientists can drill into lake beds and extract these sediment cores. Each layer represents a specific window of time. Reading those layers is like reading a detailed diary of every plant that ever lived in that region. Researchers analyzed more than 50 lake sediment cores from sites across Siberia, Alaska, and northern Canada. The pollen record confirmed exactly what the eDNA record showed. As temperatures rose at the end of the last ice age, permafrost thawed across millions of square miles. The land became waterlogged. The mammoth steppe grasses retreated and eventually disappeared from vast regions. Now consider this number. A single adult woolly mammoth required approximately 180 kilograms of food every single day. That is roughly 397 pounds. When the steppe grasses collapsed across entire regions, the caloric math became impossible. The mammoths could not eat enough to sustain their reproduction rates. Calves stopped surviving winters. Herds shrank, and once a large mammal population drops below a critical threshold, recovery becomes virtually impossible. The pollen data did not just confirm the eDNA findings, it gave them a timeline, a mechanism, and a scale. Here is the part that most people miss entirely. The most powerful evidence in this entire case is not a mammoth bone. It is not a carved spear point found near a carcass. The most powerful evidence is something that no longer exists. It is the grassland that disappeared. In archaeology and paleontology, Absence can be just as significant as presence. What is missing from the sediment record tells a story that no fossil ever could. And here is the perspective I want you to sit with for a moment. We have spent decades looking for what killed the woolly mammoth. We should have been asking what killed the woolly mammoth's world. Because the animal did not die in isolation. It died as the last casualty of an entire ecosystem collapsed. The mammoth was not the story. The vanishing steppe was the story. The mammoth was just the most visible thing that disappeared with it. So what is the actual answer? Was it climate? Was it humans? The honest scientific answer, supported by the current weight of evidence, is this. It was both. But not equally, and not in the way most people imagine. Think of it as a double jeopardy scenario. Climate change acted from below. It dismantled the ecological foundation that mammoths depended on. It removed the high-quality food. It fragmented the habitat. It reduced herd sizes across entire continents over thousands of years. Human hunting acted from above. It added lethal pressure to populations that were already stressed and shrinking. Populations that no longer had the numbers or the resources to absorb that additional loss. Neither factor alone was necessarily sufficient to cause total extinction. But together, they created a trap with no exit. The clearest proof of this model is Wrangel Island. This is not a fringe theory. This is not a YouTube interpretation of the evidence. Let me anchor this in specific people and specific publications. Dr. Eske Willerslev is a professor at the University of Copenhagen and one of the most respected ancient DNA scientists alive today. He is widely credited with pioneering the field of environmental DNA research. His team's 2021 study in Nature analyzed genetic material from more than 1,500 fossil samples, combined with the 800,000 sediment eDNA samples already mentioned. The paper's conclusion was direct. Climate-driven vegetation change was the primary driver of woolly mammoth extinction. Human hunting was a secondary and regional factor that accelerated local collapses. That paper has since been cited by over 400 peer-reviewed studies. We have taught generations of children that humans hunted the woolly mammoth into extinction. We put it in textbooks. We put it in documentaries. We made it a cautionary tale about human greed and excess. And while human hunting absolutely played a role in many regions, the deeper truth is far more unsettling. The woolly mammoth did not disappear because we were too aggressive. It disappeared because its world changed too fast for it to adapt. The grasslands it needed ceased to exist. The ecosystem it had evolved over millions of years to depend on collapsed within a few thousand years. A geological blink of an eye. And here is the thought I want to leave you with. We are currently driving climate and ecological changes at a speed that dwarfs the natural shifts that ended the mammoth steppe. If this video changed how you think about extinction, drop your updated answer in the comments right now. Did the evidence change your mind from the beginning? And if you want to go deeper into the hidden science of prehistoric Earth, subscribe and turn on notifications. The next video goes somewhere you will not expect. I will see you there.